This EdTech Summit is one like no other. It is going to be on TikTok Live, I believe. This is the first time anyone has created a live EdTech Summit on TikTok. We're going to be highlighting Canva for Education, Pear Deck Learning, and one of my favorites, Wakelet.
You are now listening to the Lifelong Learning Defined podcast with your host, George Valenzuela.
This is education coach George Valenzuela. Welcome to the Lifelong Learning Defined podcast, where I provide all educators, whether instructional leaders or teachers, tips on how to be their best both personally and professionally. Now let's get into it. We're here today with my two very good friends, Yaritza Villalba and the one and only Coach Victor Hicks. These two popular and well-known educators are not new to this show, so I'm happy to have them on. How are you?
I'm excited. Thank you for having us.
Yeah, good to be here. It's like a family reunion every time we connect, so glad to be here.
Speaking of family reunions, for the audience, Yaritza, Victor, and I are in a group text, and we always talk. It's my understanding that they're both part of an upcoming back-to-school EdTech Summit, which we're here to talk about. Yaritza, tell us everything we need to know about the back-to-school summit and who should attend.
Y'all, this EdTech Summit is one like no other. It is going to be on TikTok Live, I believe. This is the first time anyone has created a live EdTech Summit on TikTok. A couple of years ago, I had a nonprofit and I would give workshops to teachers right before school began. Why not do it again, right? Why not give teachers access to not only EdTech tools, but culturally responsive strategies that they can implement on the first day, the first week, and even the first half of the school year. So this EdTech Summit, we're going to be highlighting Canva for Education, Pear Deck Learning, and one of my favorites, Wakelet. And not only because they're tools that we use, but they're tools that speak to the diverse students that we have in our classrooms.
I love the way that you always stay true to your heart, your soul, and your educational practices. Victor, what is your role in the summit and what are you presenting on?
I will actually just be there hanging out. No, I'm kidding. I will be doing a couple of things. Of course, hanging out with educators. And I think we want to make sure that we definitely set that tone. It is going to be a great time. But we do discuss some strategies, but also make sure we're checking on teacher wellness. I think one of the things that I was happy to see after the pandemic is we really started to have conversations about teacher wellness, right? And no one understands what educators go through on a daily basis like other educators. A big part on the 7th will just be talking about how we're doing, checking in with some old friends, but also looking at ways that we use Canva, Wakelet, and Pear Deck in our STEAM computer science classroom. So we do a lot of project-based learning, all three tools, even before Yaritza came up with the great idea about the TikTok Live. These were three resources I use regularly with my students because it does allow for student voice. I'm huge on making sure that students have diverse ways to express themselves, to show what they know. I think it'll be a good time.
Folks out there watching, folks out there listening, you got to check out Coach Victor Hicks. At ISTE24, I could not get into his session in person, but I went online and checked it out. I already knew the hype, but when you see him present and you see his presence, yes, snaps, when you see his presence, the love that he has for the audience. There's even a video where he's talking about his aunt. He has the entire crowd crying. He's crying, but the entire crowd is as well. Victor is a speaker you want at your event, at your conference, at your in-service, and this is an opportunity to see him for free. It's free, right? Just making sure. If you're watching this on YouTube or listening on Spotify or iTunes, please hit the subscribe button, please hit the like button, and share this episode with your family, friends, and colleagues who are interested in self-improvement through lifelong learning. And now for a word from one of our sponsors.
Education is changing. Classrooms look different, and the future demands that our students be equipped for whatever comes their way. Educators play a huge role in helping prepare students for their futures. Defined Learning is a K-12 standards-aligned PBL solution that provides high-quality cross-curricular performance tasks across content areas such as ELA, math, science, social studies, computer science, and more. The hands-on projects are based on real-world situations and allow students to apply their learning. Education is changing. Give students the tools and experiences to recognize their futures and make an incredible impact on the world. Defined, the authority on applied learning.
Victor, so you're speaking, but who are the other featured speakers at the summit?
We are going to have my beautiful sister friend here, of course, hosting us, but also the amazing Rachel Swanson and a personal Atlanta friend of mine, Jahan Johnson, who does a lot in the world of esports and diversity. So we really will have some diverse perspectives talking about ways that we use these means of student expression, and also checking in with educators from all different viewpoints or all different entry points of education. I think sometimes we tend to think that education stops at the classroom teacher, but it's important that our EdTech consultants, that our administrators, that our counselors, that our people that support the schools also realize, because as stakeholders, their well-being, because that affects stability and how long they are able to stay, making an impact on those students. So I'm happy to see that there'll be a diverse range of educators speaking on the 7th too.
For those of us who can't tune in or want to watch sessions back, will the event be recorded?
Of course, George. I was really strategic with using TikTok as a platform. When we're thinking about global education, as we're all global educators, the first thing that comes to mind is equity, inclusion, and access, right? So thinking about folks who not only speak different languages, but whose districts may have blocked out YouTube, and there's a segment or there's a part of the recording that they may want to show and share with their students. I know that TikTok automatically makes highlight reels that teachers can then use as a resource. PDs, professional learning opportunities, right? So being able to kind of like give educators access to not only the recording, but different parts that they may feel is important. The entire hour may not be relevant to a teacher, but it may be that 30 seconds that they feel like, hey, this actually has to do with what I'm going to do on Monday in my classroom. And so using a platform like TikTok gives folks access not only to the recording, but to all of our resources and strategies, because we'll definitely be sharing it on a Wakelet after.
This sounds like a movement, Yaritza. What can we expect about your future plans for holding similar summits?
This is the beginning. If you have been following my page, then you know that I've been experimenting with TikTok for the past month just to prepare for this summit. I've been teaching myself not only how to use it, but how do we create this atmosphere where it's built off of community. And so I intend on offering this EdTech Summit once a month. I'm going to bring on special guests. And what's different is this is not like your regular conference where you're going to constantly see the same faces. I want to highlight people who are actually doing the work, people who are actually impacting education around the world, and who speak for the diverse communities of students that we have in our classrooms.
What a perfect way to end this show. How can people register for the summit?
George is going to include the TikTok link. I hope. But you can register on TikTok. And if you don't register, remember, it is a TikTok live, which means you can find one of our pages. And as we go live on September 7th at 8 p.m. Eastern time, you can click on it and you can just join us.
Victor, any last words?
Just want to really encourage everybody to come out on the 7th. We're looking forward to a great time. George, we still expect to see you there, no matter what. But yeah, just of course to be here with you too. We're really excited to work with our educators on the 7th.
And we have giveaways.
Oh, we forgot the giveaways.
And we have giveaways.
So for all our friends, come support these two and the others. That's it for this episode. Until next time, this is the Lifelong Learning Defined podcast.
Thank you for listening to the Lifelong Learning Defined podcast with George Valenzuela.